Okay, here we go. We're going to be doing some testing on smokables, so to speak. Disclaimer, I don't recommend smoking, okay? This is just me using myself as a guinea pig to try this stuff out. I've got some dried um, silky dogwood bark, or it might be Red Osier, okay? The app that I'm using to identify plants gets a little confused sometimes, but I think it was correct in saying that this stuff is silky dogwood and not Red Osier, although they are closely related. Okay, in the title I also mentioned reed cigarettes. This is reed here. I've already tried lighting it just by itself and also with a little bit of the leaves of the reed in there. It doesn't stay lit, so I'm going to go over both of these, the Kinnikinnick and the reed cigarettes. Now, if the wind cooperates, I'll be okay. This is the leaves from the reed. All right, so I tried that already, and it doesn't stay lit. You're going to have some fire going constantly to get any smoke. But the Kinnikinnick, or the bark, after drying for at least a half a day, stays lit pretty well. All right, and I'll show you what I do, but I'm going to take some dried bark first, and I'm going to roll it until it's thin enough to fit into the reed. And see what happens. Okay, so I just stuffed it in there after rolling it. Now, this isn't real time. I'm not going to cut the video and do a lot of editing. Okay, so this fits in there pretty good. Now, I did do some research on this for what it's worth on the internet, and there are various ways to prepare the Kinnikinnick, or the tobacco. This bark, as you can see, has several color variations in it because it has some of the wood, some of the outer bark, and some of the inner bark, all mixed together. Where's the inner bark? It's mixed together, right? The inner bark is kind of green, the outer is red, or it could also be green, but the inner part, the woody part, is white. I just shaved it all down and mixed it together. I'll get into that a little bit later. But on the sources that I was looking at on the internet, people tend to separate those out. So you don't use the outer bark or the woody part, you just use the inner bark. Okay? Now, this is a simple, common reed. And in these, I've seen actual artifacts or photographs of the actual artifacts of these reed cigarettes. And they have a node here where you place it in your mouth. And you got to drill out that little node. So I just took a little drill bit. It's pretty easy to drill that out. Okay. And I'm going to use a modern lighter and stuff. I'm not going to build a fire and do it the old-fashioned way with stone tools and all that. All right. So here goes. Now, this stays lit pretty well, this Kinnikinnick. And it's a very mild taste. It's not harsh. Now, when I stuffed the reed with reed leaves, it had a very hard bite, so to speak. But this doesn't. The bark does not. But as it gets closer and closer down to the woody part of the reed, it's going to go out unless I push on it and push that filler out a little bit more. So I take another section of reed here, poke it down through, and then I'll push the Kinnikinnick out a little bit. Could you see that? I push it out a little bit, and then I can continue to puff on it. So I had to do that periodically to push it out. Now, it does burn the reed a little bit, so eventually the reed will get shorter and shorter the more you use it, of course. And the artifacts that I saw were like an inch long or thereabouts, and they were, I guess they were tossed after that, they were that short. As it gets shorter, the smoke gets hotter, so you want a longer stem. So you can see how that inner bark stays lit. The same happens with a larger piece. This is actually river cane here. So we know the reed works when it's stuffed with the Kinnikinnick. And the reed itself, I didn't mention it, but the taste of the reed itself is not bad. It just has a harsher bite to it than the bark, than the Kinnikinnick bark. This is a river cane little pipe. So instead of calling it a cigarette like this one, when it gets bigger like this, I'm going to call it a pipe or a straight pipe. I made two different sizes, both out of river cane, and tried them out earlier. So I'll take some more of this bark. And again, I did not separate it. It's mixed the inner bark, outer bark, and some of the woody material. And I just roll it until it gets to the right thickness. Let's see. Yeah, I'll stuff it into this smaller one since it's faster. Well, it's not faster unless I try to stuff a whole bunch down in there, but you don't need that much really. Now, what are the effects? What is the whole purpose of doing this? Last night I tried it out and I exposed myself to quite a bit of the smoke, both burning in a little pot like this. This is what traditional Mexican salsa preparation is done in. It's called a molcajete, okay? But it's great for demonstrating if you have a little bit of fire going. I'll show that in a minute. What I did was, well, I'll show it right now. What I did was when I was exposing myself to the smoke of this, I would light some bark, and it goes up pretty quick. But blow it out, and it smokes. It smolders, and I put it in this molcajete, and let the shop fill up with the smoke, and see if it had any acrid characteristics or bad smell or a bad after smell afterwards. And there's none. It does have a distinctive smoky scent to it, of course, but it's a lot milder than regular tobacco. Now, I smoked cigars for about 2 years, and I've quit smoking the cigars maybe a month ago. I just had no more interest in smoking this and smoking the tobacco. I woke up one day and I just had no interest in smoking it anymore. So it's been about a month or two that I haven't, and then I just now tried this. So I have a little bit of experience in smoking tobacco and how it smells and all that. And the after smell in the shop after I've been smoking a cigar, it's pretty bad compared to this. So the lingering after effects of tobacco as far as the scent goes is pretty bad, I think, compared to this stuff. This just gives you a nice woody, smoky smell as an after smell when it goes out. As an incense, it's okay too. It's very mild. It didn't cause me any sneezing or coughing, which is surprising because I have allergies. It just gives you a pleasant, non-acrid smoke if you want to use it as an incense. Now, to smoke it in a straight pipe, it's also very mild. I was surprised. I've had a lot harsher experiences with tobacco and with other barks. I've tried a few other barks here and there. This was a while ago. I think I tried some elm and some other ones. I can't remember now. I actually tried some mesquite, I think. Anyway, here goes. So this is a much bigger amount, and it's very pleasant. It has kind of like the scent of burned popcorn, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It also has the taste of burning fat. Like if you are cooking with, or you're frying something with fat, the scent from that is similar to this. Now, I didn't add any fat to it, which is something else that I've heard is added to tobacco, the way the Native Americans would smoke it. Sometimes they would add animal fat, but I find that the fat doesn't make it taste better. It just makes it burn faster. Okay, so after this goes out a little bit, I just push on it with the little push rod until more of that comes out. See that? I'll push it so more of that will come out, and I can continue to smoke, and it won't burn the end of the cane here. It burns it a little bit, but it stays in pretty good shape, and I can use it over and over again. Okay, same with the reed. This can last surprisingly long. You can keep it with you. And this stuff is lightweight. You don't need much. You just need a little push rod, the straight pipe, and some very lightweight dried bark. And in your kit, it's almost nothing as far as being able to carry it around. Now, I didn't get into why you would do this, right? I mentioned that the smoke is not acrid. It's very mild. The smoke is very mild. But I didn't mention the effects of actually puffing on this and tasting it and getting it into your system this way. I don't recommend inhaling it unless it's an incense. Then, it's just mild inhalation. I don't recommend inhaling it from this. Now, the effect, it does have a calming effect, but I think that may be just placebo effect. But I did sleep well after I smoked some of this last night. And it could be because I might have missed my, or, not missed, but I may have lost some of the calmness that I used to get with tobacco smoking, and then transferred it to this, and it calmed me down. But I think, as a placebo effect, but I think it also has a calming effect as far as the chemicals go in this bark. It had sort of like a numbing effect as well. Not that I lost feeling, but I wasn't distracted and thinking about lots of things all at the same time. It has kind of a numbing effect on the nervousness or anxiety a little bit. And I can't tell if it's actually the smoke chemicals or just a placebo effect. But to answer the question of why you would want to do this, I think it's just for a calming effect. If we're not talking about ceremony. Ceremony is a whole different aspect, a different ballgame. But just as a recreational thing, I think this has a calming effect. And as you can see, it did stay lit. I didn't have to relight it. This may also be something that you can carry around with you from camp to camp and then restart fires, so you don't have to use the two sticks rubbing together method to start a fire again. Especially if you stuff a lot of it down into one of these and you're able to push a lot of material and keep it lit. I think it should stay lit for at least 30 minutes. Now, I don't know how handy that is when traveling from camp to camp. You would have to recharge it or have two of these so that you can, once one gets down to almost nothing, you can relight the other one and have two, one going and one ready to go, and then switch them out, so you can have continuous fire. And you can just walk around with this in your mouth, I guess. I'm trying to think of other reasons why you would do this. So it has a calming effect, whether it's placebo effect or actual chemical working in some way. It can be used to start fires from place to place if you want to walk from one place to the next. And it can be used for ceremony, in preparation for prayer or whatever. Okay? All right. So that's just the way that I do it. It's pretty straightforward. I just cut I take a reed and I use the Harbor Freight saw, and then I drill out the node on the reed. On the Kinnikinnick, or on the silky dogwood, I just peel the bark. I don't take any of the bark off on the outside. I don't even wash it. I know, lazy. I just want to do it quickly. I just took off this part here. It's got some kind of defect there, so I took that part off, but all this other stuff, I can use it. And instead of trying to separate this, or instead of trying to remove the outer bark first and then scrape off just the inner bark and not get any of the woody part, for me, it would take too long. So I just keep them all combined. The bark, the outer, the middle, and the woody stuff, I just keep it all together. But I make sure to get all the green stuff off. Okay. And I just pull it off and continue. And like I said, this takes about a half a day to dry. If you start around noon, stick them in a little basket. Start around noon, it'll be dry by sunset. You just got to flip it over once, like this. Just flip it over so that, just in case the bottom doesn't dry out, and leave it in the sun. It'll be very dry by the time the sun goes down. Okay? Yeah. So there you go. Easy stuff. At least this way it's easy. I can make it more difficult by just peeling off the outer bark and slowly get rid of it. It is possible to get the outer bark off. See that? It does come off. If I can do this without looking. See, it does come off, and then the green inner stuff can be peeled separately. Okay? And then you can use only this if you want, which is what I found on the internet. The traditional way is to use only this inner bark, not the woody part or the outer bark. But I used all three. All right. I think I've said that enough times for you to get it. Okay. I hope that's interesting. That's it.